We're here. Huge episode today. I cannot believe this. After a massive game, a club record game, we got a superstar on the show today at Head Over the Footy. Caleb Serong, Fremantle footballer, 23 years old, grew up in the country town of Warragul. Before that, Inverloch first, then Warragul. Attended school in the area, then went to Geelong Grammar. Got drafted to Fremantle out of Gippsland at pick 8 in the 2019 National Draft. 81 games, 19 goals. Wears the number 3 for the Dockers. Now his achievements, how long do we need here? AFL Rising Star 2020, AFL Players Association Best First Year Player in 2020 as well. Moving on to 2021, AFL Coaches Association Best Young Player Award, Goal of the Year in 2021, and a number of other awards. The Herald Sun Player of the Year in 2023. He also won he was an All-Australian last year as well. The Jeff Christian Medal for WA's Best Player out of the 2 AFL clubs last year. And the Doige Medal for Fremantle Best and Fairest. There's a few other awards as well that we'll get into. He's got 2 younger brothers, Jai and Liam Serong. And we'll get into this stat just before we introduce him. 52 games in a row with 20-plus touches, the longest active streak in the AFL. Caleb Serong, welcome to Head Over the Footy.
Thanks, Hatsa. It's good to be here. You didn't need to go into that much detail, mate, but it's good to be here.
Yeah, pleasure, mate. I thought, you deserve the intro. You've had a really good last few seasons, and mate, it's a pleasure to have you on, so thanks very much for joining us. Before we get into it, I want to talk about, we've got a few rules here at Head Over the Footy.
All right.
Okay. Michael Braun, he played for West Coast, and he won the Glendunning Allen Medal in 2007. And he won the medal, as you know, you've won it a few times, twice. And after Michael won it, he finished his speech off with, "Let's have a f***ing good year." So that's what he said. He was fined $5,000 by the AFL after it. Now, you're allowed to swear on this show. You're not going to be fined, okay? So go for it. We'll beep it out if we need to, okay? So that's just one of the rules. But, mate, how have you been? You're in Melbourne now for North Melbourne tomorrow. How are you feeling for the game, and how's everything been?
Going really well. It's good to see you again, mate. Haven't seen you in a while. Obviously went to school together, but it's been a bit. And then, the season started well. Obviously, fair bit of anxiety and nerves coming into the season. Coming into round 1, you kind of don't know what to expect from the team and from the opposition, really. So we felt like we had a really good pre-season. We improved in a lot of areas. We kind of implemented a lot of things we wanted to, and so we had a lot of confidence coming into the season that we were going to be a better team, but you never really know until you come up against an opposition and really test yourself. So good test, grand finalists last week, and we were able to really kind of play our brand across the 4 quarters, aside from probably the first 10 minutes, and we were able to really challenge them and kind of get the win in the end. But looking forward to another challenge tomorrow. Really young, exciting team that are on the improve, so another good challenge for us.
Yeah, and Lions last week, as you touched on there, they won. They were in the grand final last year. Lost the first game to Carlton, so they're always going to come in hot, wanting to win that game. And for you guys to get the win, a lot of people have tipped Fremantle to finish outside the 8 this year. Backs against the wall a little bit. But for you guys to pull through there, must have been a really pleasing result.
It was. And I think on the back of our year last year, obviously disappointing, and did make finals, backing up our semi-final performance the year before. But we felt like our best footy last year was really good, and we kind of got a lot younger last year and lost a bit of experience on the back of 2022. And that's we probably allowed it to have a bit more of an impact than we would have liked on our performances. But we feel like the biggest thing it probably affected was our consistency. So we, like I said, our best game was really good. We beat Melbourne at the G, beat Geelong twice last year, and really pushed Brisbane and Port Adelaide at the end of the year, and beat a Sydney team. It's Sydney early in the new year as well. So we felt like our best performances were really good, but it was few and far between, and we kind of weren't able to produce that week in, week out. So that was a big focus for us through the pre-season, just session on session, day on day, really approaching it with the right mindset, right mentality to get better, to really get something out of it with real purpose each day. And feel like that's hopefully going to lend itself to consistent performances in season and consistent games. So, on the back of last year, we've kind of been challenged a fair bit from the external media in the world and written off, and that's fine by us. We're happy to kind of keep flying under the radar. We feel like we've had a great pre-season, and not many people have been there watching us in the pre-season, not many kind of journos or anything, so we're happy to kind of just fly under the radar and keep going about our business and hopefully keep playing our footy, because that's what we can do, that's what we can control. We can't control what other people think of us and where they have us in their predicted ladders and stuff. All we can do is go out there and perform. So started well, but yeah, like I said, another challenge tomorrow.
Yeah. And we'll get into that game and what the record you broke, which is unbelievable. But before we get there, the pre-season, I think that there was an article, Fremantle.com, the media team, they wrote about it being the biggest pre-season the club has had. Can you take us into, not just that, but also, what did it look like for it to be a really big pre-season since you've been there?
Yeah, I think over the last few years we've had Phil Merriman come in as our high performance manager, and he came from Melbourne about 4 years ago, and he's kind of built his program into what it is now, and his philosophy is very much around high-speed run and making sure we're really exposed to high-speed running rather than just kind of accumulating load across the pre-season, and as a real performance measure, but also as a protective injury measure as well. And it's not an exact science, obviously. With injuries, you can get unlucky, but as much as we can kind of push the needle that way as we can, and that's what his biggest metric is on our high speed and sprint running, our high, being exposed to that as much as we can. So when we talk about our biggest pre-season, it's probably been on the back of that. We've kind of pushed that envelope a little bit more, and not through doing more sets of running and more kilometres and stuff. It's probably been more the quality over quantity. So when we're doing reps, guys are fitter and ready to go with that high speed, high explosiveness running. So we can kind of push that in what we're doing in football drills and in our running drills. And if you look at kind of what we've done in the gym space as well, I think it was reported something like 100 personal bests and 31 guys hit PBs. And we've got guys like Jago O'Meara, who's one of the most chiseled athletes in the AFL, and he's hit 2 or 3 PBs this year in the gym as well. And he's really improved himself physically when he's 30 now as well. So if we got guys doing that at the age of 30, and then we got the guys 18, 19, 20, guys like Neil Erasmus, Matthew Johnson, setting the world alight in terms of getting better, setting 5, 6, 7 PBs throughout a pre-season in the gym. Naturally, you're going to get better as individuals, and if we can do that across the board, our team's going to get better as well. So I feel like there was probably a shift not a shift, but a real focus on the mindset, like I said, each day to get the most out of every session, not kind of letting any sessions, whether that's a gym session, whether that's a jiu-jitsu wrestling session, whether that's a team meeting, whether it's training, whatever it is, a hill session on a Saturday morning, really attacking it to get better, rather than just kind of not you seeing those as just sessions you got to get through or sessions you got to kind of do to just because you got to do them. It's kind of like, all right, how are we going to use this to get better today? And across the board, that was a really good mindset, and I felt like that's allowed guys to hit the ground running at the start of the season, and I guess be in career best nick. A lot of guys across the board.
Well, it worked. First game, you came out and 46 touches, the most touches by a Fremantle player in a game, breaking David Mundy's and Peter Bell's record that they held together of 44. And I was at the footy last night, and I was telling a few people that I'm going to be interviewing you, and obviously you go straight to that game and the way you played in that game, getting 46 touches. And one of the guys described it as, that was fucking insane. Now, how did you see the game and your performance?
Yeah, it was, well, it's on reflection, it's a nice way to start the year. But I guess for me, I'll kind of look back to the way, I guess individually and as a team, we responded after that first 10 minutes. And I was really kind of proud of that across the board, because we got challenged early, challenged heavily, like 4 goals down, start around 1 when you haven't got any performances under your belt. You don't know where you sit. You can kind of lend yourself start questioning, like, shit, have we done the proper work through the preseason, all this stuff. And then for us just to stick to the plan and kind of wrestle that momentum back, kick a couple of goals late. I was really proud of the way that we were able to do that, and then kind of just continue to impose our kind of footy across the game. But I guess individually for me, it's just it's a good, I guess, reflection of the preseason and the work that I've kind of put in individually and as a midfield group as well. I felt like last year the midfield group got challenged. The year before in 2022 when we were going well, it was a real strength. Felt like one of the best midfields in the comp from a damaging scoring point of view and being able to defend behind it. But last year it was inconsistent and we lost a few players and we weren't able to do it. But on the weekend and throughout the preseason, that's been a big focus of our midfield group to get back to being one of the most damaging, kind of ruthless midfields in the comp. And if you looked at guys like Nat Fyfe and Hayden Young coming into that kind of fold, it's only going to get better. So I was kind of happy to be really a part of that. And some weeks it's going to be me getting heaps of the footy. Some weeks it's going to be Andy. Other weeks it's going to be Fyfey. And I feel like that's the beauty of our midfield, that if you're to kind of tag or try and take away one of us, someone else is going to stand up, and it's just going to be a tough day for the team. So looking forward to continuing to get better because we're one game down with that group, and feel like we're only going to get better each week. Yeah,
and when you're playing the game, do you know sort of that it's a big performance or you've racked up a lot of possessions? Sometimes the stats pop up on the big screen. Were you aware of having such a high disposal game?
There's, like you said, they pop up on the big screen every now and then and you kind of catch a glimpse of it. But I think when you're in those kind of moments, the beauty of it is that you're not really thinking about too much. And last week there wasn't much going on kind of in my brain except for what I was focusing on in that moment, and kind of thinking about the game and thinking about where I was running patterns defensively, whatever it is. And you don't really think about, you just kind of forget, and it's a bit of a blur. People talk about the zone, you're kind of in the zone and stuff and whatever that kind of is, but you're not thinking about a whole heap, so you're not really kind of noticing it too much. But then when you do kind of notice on the screen, you're like, shit, I've had 25 in the first half here, and you're like, this could be on for a big one. And then that's where the mental side of the game is so important, because if you kind of allow yourself to go into the what ifs and the outcomes, and you're like, oh, I've had 14 in the first half, I'm going to have 56 today. That's you beauty. Yeah. It's the same with like the key forwards, when they kick 3 in the first quarter, you're like, oh, I could have 12 today. Yeah. And it's like if you as soon as you think that moment's gone, you're going to kind of you can drift, you can kind of go off task, whatever you do. But for me, that was a really good time just to reset and then come out in that third quarter and obviously experience something a little bit different, a little bit of tag in that third quarter, and just mindset immediately went to how I can help manipulate that and help manipulate for our team and around stoppage. And I felt like we're still able to have a really good impact around stoppage as a team. So, you're kind of somewhat aware of it, but when you're in that moment, you're not really focusing too much on it.
So you're aware of it. So your teammates as well, they'd be aware of it if it's popping up on the big screen. So it's just sort of like ignoring your teammates as well. Like, how did you know at halftime? Did one of your teammates like mention it? Because obviously they're aware as well.
A few of the boys come up like, "Fuck, you're going right, eh?" or something like that at halftime, or "Fuck, good work," like just getting around you and stuff. But that kind of happens anyway. Like you kind of getting around each other as it is. So, but it's kind of like when it's kind of fixed on the scoreboard as you're walking off. And I think Jai Amos was having a shot on goal after the siren at half time, and it was up on the screen. So once the game's kind of stopped, you're kind of looking around a little bit and you see it. So that was kind of when I first noticed it. But and then you kind of reflect, you're like, shit, I have had a bit of it in this first half. But the boys, especially in that third quarter when I was getting tagged as well, the boys looked after me a bit. Like Fyfe, he took a mark and I wrapped around the back of him and he just gave me a little handball. It's like little stuff like that where you can really look after your teammates. And we've experienced it with Andy Brayshaw a fair bit over the last couple of years, getting tagged, and just little ways we can help him and really manipulate it to make the tagger's life as hard as possible, and then really manipulate it to kind of get the team, that needle push in our team's favour, because if your team's going well, they're probably more likely to drop the tag and know that it's not working for them. So as quick as we can do that, the better. But yeah, a few boys looked after me, which is nice.
Yeah, definitely. It really takes a team effort to produce a performance like 46 touches. You must really be loving footy then if you're getting 46 touches.
Yeah, it's nice when you walk off and you can kind of have a really good win like that and then contribute individually. It's a great kind of feeling walking off the ground. But I think for me, the focus this year is to walk off the ground every week and have a sense of enjoyment of playing, and for me that comes back to the way I play, and not kind of the outcomes, or not the disposals, the clearances, or whatever it is, but the way I approach each game. And for me, that comes back to my strengths and what I value really highly as a player and as a person. So that kind of comes back to the physicality and the contest first and foremost, and then being a really good teammate. So if I'm doing those two things and really celebrating my teammates and enjoying that part of it, and then really approaching each game with a real intent to be physical and embrace the contest and the chaos of the game, I think that holds me in really good stead, and my kind of game comes from there. But then I can walk off the ground having a real sense of enjoyment, knowing that I've done what I value really highly, and had fun with my mates doing it as well. So last week I was able to do that, walked off and felt like I ticked those two boxes, and the result was what it was. But I won't be looking at the stat sheet kind of judging my games on that. I'll be judging it on those kind of two things.
And in footy, it's such a tough competition. We're seeing Collingwood already this season coming off a really good flag season, and all of a sudden they've lost 3 games in a row to start the season. It's such a tight competition. It feels like, especially this year, there's so many teams that could potentially make the 8. And that's sort of the way the competition is. Is that what you think? Because last year you guys didn't make the top 8. You missed out. But all of a sudden, you come out round 1 looking really good. And the ladder position might not be a reflection of how you guys are going as a club. And I know that you touched on this in your BNF speech about, you're being very optimistic despite not having the season you may have wanted to have on the ladder.
Yeah, you're right. The league at the moment, all it takes is you to be 5-10% off, and anyone can beat anyone. So for us, that's where I touched on consistency before, and that's what you can bring to every single moment, every single contest, every single second, minute, game, week in, week out. And it's tough at times because, like I said, it's a hard business to back it up week in, week out. But if you're a little bit off, anyone can beat anyone. And like you've seen with Collingwood the last few weeks and Brisbane, it's tough because teams are coming for you, especially the reigning premier. Like, teams are looking at what they did well and really trying to break that down. But for us, like you said, I'm so optimistic and confident on what we can achieve, not just this year, but in the years going forward. We've got a really young list that we see at a point now that's ready to explode and ready to bring real excitement and fun to the way we play, and that's something that we're seeing is a real strength of ours, rather than seeing it's something that can hold us back. It's, if we get this right, like, we can be a really exciting team to play for and to watch. So I said it in the speech last year, but I got no doubt in my mind anyway that our first premiership team, or close to, or all of those players are in the room. Were in that room that night, and are in this team right now that we've got, and we've got to keep building together. We've got to keep growing. But the beauty of how close the comp is at the moment is, if it clicks, like, anyone can win, and that's our motto. Like, that's what we're kind of focusing on, is like, why not us? Asking that question, why not? Because there's teams that have come from outside the 8, like GWS last year. They've come from kind of, well outside the 8 the year before, and then coming up and playing in prelim. Collingwood the year before that got to a prelim, and it's like, you just got to give yourself a chance, and that's the beauty of AFL footy at the moment is, and anyone, if you rock up on your day and play good footy, you can beat anyone.